Okay, today we are going to be talking about areas of circles. Now, before we get into the formula for the area of a circle, I want to make sure that we have some terminology down. So let's go ahead and draw two circles here. So we have that on our notes. Now, when I have the line that goes from the center of the circle to the end, that is called the radius. And when I have the line that goes from end to end going through the center, that is the diameter. Okay. Now, if I give you a radius and I want you to figure out the diameter, notice how the line doubles. So we would multiply by 2. However, in most cases, I will give you diameter and you're going to need the radius because the formula for area of a circle requires the radius, not the diameter. So you're going to have to learn to go from diameter to radius. And the way that we go from diameter to radius is we divide by 2. Notice how this is the full line and you're cutting it in half, right? To make the radius, so you're dividing by 2. So keep this in mind. This is a step where a lot of people can make mistakes. So we want to make sure that you know how to go from diameter to radius so that you can follow the formula. So let's look ahead and look at the formula for area of a circle. The formula for area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay, and for the purposes of our math class, we will be using 3.14 for pi. We know that pi keeps going, but we're just going to use 3.14. So let's do one example here. Now this circle gives me the radius of 5. So the very first thing that I want you to do for every single problem, I want you to write down the formula. So I know that the formula is pi r squared. The formula tells you exactly what you need to do. So you just need to follow the formula. You write it down, and then the next thing you do is you plug in numbers for the symbols and the variables. So instead of pi, you're going to use 3.14. 3.14. And I'm multiplying this by the radius. The radius is 5. And it's squared. Put the little 2 here. Only after you've written this step, only after you've written down all the numbers, then you can go ahead and use your calculators. So you put 3.14 multiplied by 5, and here's the square button, and it puts the square for the 5, and we get 78.5. And that is units squared because we're talking about area. They don't specify the units here, so we just write units. Let's go ahead and go over a couple of examples here on our notes. Here we go. Let's start with the easier ones, the ones that show me the radius. So you have to identify what part of the circle they give you. So let's start here. They give me the radius. So since that is what my formula calls for, you are good to go. So let's open up the flap here. And the very first step is to write down the formula. The next step is to substitute my symbols with numbers. So instead of pi is 3.14 times, and my radius was 3. 3 squared. You're going to plug this into your calculator. 3.14 times 3, and don't forget the square button, it's right here, squared, and it gives me 28.26. And it was meters squared. And that's it. Let's look at another one that they give us a radius. Here's my radius. So we identified that this is the radius. Again, my very first step is to write down the formula. Next, I go ahead and put in numbers for my symbols and variables. Instead of pi, it is 3.14 times, and my radius was 6 squared. Go ahead and put this on your calculator. 3.14 times 6 squared, 113.04. And it's centimeters squared. So those are the most straightforward ones that you're going to have for area of a circle because they already give you the radius. But what about when they don't? So I need you to refer back to your notes up here. When they give you the full line, they're giving you diameter. So this is diameter. My formula calls for radius, the R, not for D. So you need to turn this diameter into a radius. So you're going to divide by 2. So 10 divided by 2 will give you 5 feet. So I need to see that you're doing this on your problems and on your notes. You're going through the steps in the process of figuring out what the radius is, because you cannot use the 10 on your formula. You will get the wrong answer. The formula calls for radius, so you need to use 5. Again, that's the number that they don't give you. You have to figure that out. So let's go ahead and, now that we found what the radius is, let's go ahead and use our formula. Area equals pi r squared. Area equals 3.14 times 5 squared. And when we do that on the calculator, we will get 78.5. And that was feet. Feet squared. Okay, let's do one last example like that. And here again, they give me the diameter. So let me know that you identified that that's diameter. And then show me that you found the radius. Remember that we divide by 2 to go from diameter to radius. So 25 divided by 2. And you get a decimal, and that is okay. It's 12.5. You're just going to use that decimal. And that's my radius. That's the number that you're going to use. Let's go ahead and do our first step, which is to write down the formula. A equals pi r squared. A equals 3.14. And in place of radius, remember that you're using the 12.5. That's squared. And go ahead and put that in your calculator. 3.14 times 12.5 squared. And that'll give me 490.625. And that is inches squared. Okay, so the most important thing to remember here is to follow the formula and identify whether they're giving you the diameter or the radius, and divide by 2 if needed to make sure that you're using radius on your formula. Thank you.